Tell me, what did you do so bad? Why did you rebel against the Polish government that they chased you out of Poland? I mean, can you imagine a question like this?
What did your father tell him?
Nothing. And another Jew asked, did you bring your covers? The bed covers? I mean, they did not comprehend what was going on. They thought we did something bad and they chased us out of Poland. Most probably they sent flowers along with us or whatever. Nobody knew that almost 3 million Jews were already slaughtered. And that's why, I guess, if they would have, if the Germans wouldn't have hid these things, most probably a much greater amount of Jews would have been saved because they had the means. They could have gone to different countries, to Romania, to Yugoslavia. And they all had one slogan. Nothing will happen to us because we are Hungarian citizens. They're only going to look for the refugees and those who are not Hungarian citizenships. This was also masterminded to them. And that's why nobody made a move. And that's why, the end what happened.
When the Germans took over in March and shortly thereafter, in
Right.
1944, the deportation started outside of Budapest, what were the people told about where they were going? What did the Germans tell them? Do you recall?
There were no Germans. Most of them were shipped by the Hungarian fascists. Like I mentioned to you before, the Horthy government was, how would you say, they put them in a labor camp, a concentration camp, and they put up this guy Salashi, and he was worse than the Nazis. He built the ghettos, he made all the deportations, he collaborated along with the Nazis. The Nazis didn't have to do anything in Hungary.
So
All the Hungarians did it
so it was
on their own.
the Hungarian fascists or the Arrow Cross that
Right,
carried out.
right. The Hungarians did it.
Coming back to Christmas, 1944, and you were telling us about what happened after the Christmas Eve dinner.
Oh, so they came up. It was around 11 o'clock at night, and we heard the knocking in the door. And they come in, and they asked the lady, "Do you have any Jews here?" And she replied, "No." "Do you have any Poles here?" We were in the next room. We lived on the 4th floor. So she said, "I have 2 children over here. They have unfortunate children. Let me see them." So, like I said before, they came in and they searched my brother. They found a telegram that my parents were in Slovakia, and they connected us that we were sort of kind of spies because the uprising was in Slovakia. They kept on hitting him. They handcuffed us. See, if they wouldn't have handcuffed us and it wouldn't have been the 4th floor, we would have escaped. We had already, comes to these things when you fight for survival. You will never believe what you can break through. You can bend iron, whatever, when you fight for survival. But we came downstairs and they put the handcuffs. So I said to my brother, "Look, our parents don't know whatever happened with us. We were together with the parents till 1944. They will never know. In other words, not a remembrance will be what happened to us, because they're going to kill us now." So I said to my brother, "At least our sisters maybe will survive." As I'm talking to him, they take out a little piece of paper and they read, "Bersenzi Straße 13. That's Bersenzi Straße means the Bersenzi Street, number 13. The 2 sisters live from these Verbrechers, and we were on different names. And I still didn't comprehend what was going on. They went up there, and they took my sisters. And they said the same thing. I hope they didn't take our brothers. We were only worried one thing, to tell our parents. Somehow we had that feeling that we will survive, whatever happened to us. So we were praying they should survive. They were praying. Then they came down. We met all together. They took us into this station, and this was a German station, a Hungarian fascist station. As we coming in, I still didn't comprehend. I didn't understand what was going on. We come in to an office. a German comes out in a rope, in a night rope. Must have been a high official. And I see this lady, this Polish lady, sitting behind the desk. So I say to him, I say, what's going on over here? Most probably I thought that there was a raid, and they picked her up too. But as soon as she comes in, the German came in, and she tells him, I don't know whatever you call him, here hast du 10 Juden. I promised you 10 Jews, and here you have 10 Jews I brought you. That lady who lived with me in that room, she was Ukraine. She collaborated with the Nazis. Later on, she collaborated with the Russians, I found out. And she told me, you wanted to survive, to kill me like you Jews killed in 1940 in Lemberg and Lvov, our people. Because the Jews by the Russians had a little free hand. So those, maybe they did something, I don't know, but everything was exaggerated. But anyway, these were the last words that I heard from her. You wanted to survive, and they put us into and they kept beating us, and then they put us into a prison downstairs. Like it wasn't a prison camp, but a prison like you have in the station houses, overnight prison. We came in there, and I see two of my friends are there too. That lady followed me where I went to visit my friends, and they picked up two, and they went to follow those two, his friends, and they picked up another two, so we were 10 together over there. And they put us in the prison, in the room, in the cell. They put a guard, because they knew that we are from Poland, we know already all the experience how to escape. And he said, this high officer that was wearing that night robe, and he said, you know what you did? I said, what did I do? Tell him, you broken the German law. You supposed to be killed in Poland, and you escaped from Poland to come over here. You know what you deserve for that? You have broken the German law. You have violated the German law. That's what he told us. And they put us downstairs into the cellar. And they had a guard, a regular soldier, Wehrmacht. And I tell them in German, was denken Sie? Sie werden den Krieg gewinnen? Well, in other words, I told them, you think that you will win the war by shooting me? And he tells me, oh, my child, I am from the Wehrmacht. I haven't seen my family in 2 or 3 years. What can I tell you? He had no answer. So I asked him what's going to be, where we're going to go from here. So he said, in the evening, the Hungarian fascists will come, and they will take over. When I heard this, I told my sisters, they were right in the next room, we could communicate. And I told them, listen, look, most likely they're going to, what the fascists did, they take every Jew that they caught, shot him into the Danube, to the water. Yeah? So I said, when we're going to come to this square, I told the other people, my brother, he came the fascists arrived, the Hungarian, an old man with a big gun. So I said to myself, until he'll take off the gun, 5 of us will disappear already. And as we walk out from that prison, 2 of our people, they got lost in the crowd. There were people still walking in the street. So this Hungarian, the old man, counted. You see, there's only 8. Blew the whistle. They came out, and the Germans, the fascists, they were running, searching. Mind you, they still have time to do this. It was 18, almost 20 days before the liberation.
Were you aware that the Russian army was already on the outskirts
Are you
of
kidding?
Budapest?
We were in the shelters most of the nights. They were bombarding. And yet, mind you, they still had all this time to kill the Jews or whatever, to be occupied with the Jews. I mean, in a situation like this. But anyhow, they caught those two people, and they brought them there. They were beating them to death. And instead, this old man, two volunteers came, young Germans with machine guns, and they took us to a bridge like here, the Manhattan Bridge. And this was the place where they used to shoot the people. They come on the bridge, on top of the bridge. They used to shoot them and throw them into the Danube. One says, too easy, let's put them into this prison. There was a prison right next to the bridge. And the Germans were coming on tanks back and forth. They didn't know where to go. They were surrounded. One young German jumps down on the tankers, from the tanks with a gun, and he asked the guard, "Who are these?" So he said, "Jews." "Ah," he said, "Darum haben wir den Krieg verloren. Therefore, that's why we lost the war, the Jews." And he started hitting us. It was something unbelievable. I was lucky. I was hiding myself among the others, so I wasn't hit. But all the others, my sisters and my brother, they were all wounded. And they took us into a prison. This prison was called, this was the hardest prison in Hungary. Only spies they took in there. It was called the Főutca prison, right next to the bridge. Right next to the bridge. They came in there. Another guard took us over. And he said, "Get undressed," and start searching in the clothes. What do you have? You have money, foreign currencies. That's what the guy asked. I said, "No." But I had $200 American in my shoe. When my father made me shoes with a double leather on the inside and the outside, or whatever it was, and in between I had the $200. So what they took our clothes, they took the shoes towards a light to look through if there's anything hidden. They knew all the things. So I knew that will be the end of me. Once they found the currency, they shoot you right on the spot. They shoot each other. That's what they did. So he said, "Give me your shoe." So I took out one at a time and I gave him. He turned around and said, "Give me the other shoe." I gave him the same shoe. I don't know, God gave me some kind of understanding. Otherwise he would have shot me right then and there. And then they threw us into a cell. This was December 26th, probably, or the 27th. And we were there till January, Sylvester also.
New Year's.
Apparently Sylvester was my lucky day.
New
all
Year's.
the time, New Year's. And so they took us into this prison, they put it into the cell, and then they came to ask us who wants to volunteer to give out the food to the prisoners, and especially we need somebody who speaks German. So I went. So there was a big barrel of soup, whatever, you know, in the prison you have those little windows, and they put out like a little fan, and you pour in a little soup over there and a piece of bread. As they opened that little window, I see the guy who opened the window, the prisoner inside, I see he's a priest, a Polish priest, with his uniform, Polish uniform. Like I mentioned before, the army, the 30,000 soldiers, he was an army priest. Somehow they put him in there to the jail. So I told him, "Listen, Father, I want you to know that I'm a Pole, and I'm Jewish, and I have excellent papers. In case they come to verify to you that I am Jewish, that I'm Catholic, you should say yes." So he said, "By all means," this priest. Then he says, "Can you give me a little bit more soup?" I say, "Yes." I gave him another water, a little bit more water there. This was like a Wednesday, a Thursday. But then Sylvester, right. Sunday was Sylvester, if I remember correctly. Saturday night, oh yes, in the interim, our they start bombarding this prison, whether it was the English or the Russian, I don't know. And our prison was hit by a shrapnel, whatever. So they opened the door, and the guard opened the door, and he said, "Alle raus, everybody downstairs to the shelter." And he was sort of like wounded already, bleeding, maybe he got hit with something. We came downstairs. I've seen my sisters there, and I've seen Germans, soldiers. I've seen American flyers, Russian flyers, English flyers. They were all captured. This is the type of a prison it was. It was a spy prison. They kept spies. It was very well guarded and so on. The bombarding stopped. The bombarding stopped. And then they opened the door and said, "Everybody on the second floor." They came into the second floor. Before we were like on the fifth floor. They pushed us in like 60 or 70 people in one room. I was among, like I said before, Germans, Russians. They were captured. That was Saturday night. Saturday night, they opened the door and they asked, "Who speaks German here?" So one guy volunteered, I also volunteered. I come out and they said, "Listen, look, we are evacuating the prison because the Russians are very, very close. We want you should help us load up the trucks." And we, fine. So what did they take? Typewriters, certain kinds of documents, papers. We kept unloading on the truck, and the chauffeur was a woman, a German, what do you call it, a WAG. She was a soldier too. And she said to the guard over there, "Give him a pack of cigarettes for the labor that they worked over here." So we were 4 people, and we divided the cigarettes, 5 cigarettes among each other, and we came back. I want you to know that in this cell that I was there, nobody understood each other because there was all different type of nationalities. But when it came for Jews, everybody understood. Everybody understood. Once they called Jews, they knew right away. I mean, everybody understood, but it was Russian. So when we came back with those cigarettes, they wanted to attack us. I said, "Okay, you want my cigarettes? You give me your bread in the morning. I'll swap you for this." So I made swaps, and I got extra breads, and I gave him the cigarettes. In that room was a man, and he was coughing and crying all night. He had asthma. To be 60 or 50 people in one room, I don't have to tell you what that means. You couldn't sleep. He was just standing up. You couldn't lay down. There was not enough room. And he kept, with somebody has asthma and he can't breathe. So when we came back and we swapped the cigarettes for bread, and there were that man all over there. But I'm just bringing it in because I have to point out something what happened, who that man was. And that was Sunday morning. So about 9 o'clock, a guard comes in and he says, "Today we are liquidating this prison. All the Jews will be shot, and all the and a lot of them will be a lot of the other nationalities they'll let go free," or something like that. It's got to be. Okay. So one guy among us, he survived, and he said, "Let's go to sleep a little bit. We'll come in the other world. They'll ask us Judgment Day what we did in this world," and so forth and so on. He made like a little joke. As he's saying this, the door opens again, and they call him, his name. And I say to my brother Bernie, they just called, his name was Ziggy, they just called him. 5 minutes later, another guard comes with his pistol in his hand, in a fascist uniform, and he says, "Olszewski, Edward, and Stanislav, come." They took us out, and my brother tells me, Bernie, this was like 12 o'clock, Sunday, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and he says to me, "Now they're going to shoot us. The Russians are already behind us, a couple kilometers away, and now is there justice?" So I told him, "Bernie, met the schießen. They will not shoot us. Sagt er mich schicken, are you crazy? Don't you see, they're taking us in right to the water. I say, met ins schießen. As we go, this guard tells us to go, and I see they're not taking us, he's leading us towards a side entrance, not to the main gate. We came out, he took us out over there, which was very close to the water. A car is staying over there. And I come close to the car, I see my two sisters there, and a man in civil clothes in that frame that they took out before. They came, the reason why I mentioned the guy that had the asthma, they came to look for this man. He was the vice consul from the Swiss consul. And he was with me in the same room. Somehow they couldn't find him. They came to rescue him. This fascist and the guy in civil, they came to look for him and they couldn't find him. So he said to the guard, do you have any Jews over here? The guard answered him, no. Do you have any Poles? Because he knew that every Pole is a Jew that is over there. So he said, yes. So he said, bring me up a couple of Jews. Let me kill them. I don't want to come for nothing. So they brought up my two sisters. And he starts hitting them. And then the guard goes a little way. He said, bist du Jiddische? Are you Jewish? This man. She said, yeah. And this is my Schwester. That's my sister. And he took him out. And he was ready to leave. And they could not find this man, the vice consul. When we come over there, I see my sisters over there. What happened was, he was afraid himself, the guy in the civil clothes. He was in a regular suit and a coat. He was afraid to come by anymore into the prison. He sent his chauffeur. The chauffeur was in a fascist uniform. What happened was, when they brought up my two sisters and into the car, when he brought them out, and he told him he's going to take him into the ghetto someplace, that he's Jewish, so she said, listen, I have here two brothers. I will jump right in now to the water if you don't go rescue them. If you don't go rescue them. So he was afraid to go already. So he sent the chauffeur, this driver. So the driver took us out. We went into the car and we crossed the bridge. It was like here, the Manhattan Bridge. It's a large bridge. And he took us in to the Wallenberg, to a house that had the Swedish flag. We came over there and we were received also, but they were hiding out some kind of Zionist organizations, but we wound up again with the Shamat Sayyah, which they were sort of like communist party. And we were there till the 18th of January. No Nazis came into that because it was sheltered. But then we hear tremendous knocking in the door, and somebody went to open the door from the house, and I see a man with a fur hat with 5 stars, and I knew it must be Russians. And he comes in. They open the door, and he comes with his machine gun, and he says, "Me, освободили вас." We free you. That's what he said. Me освободили вас. He came in and he asked, who speaks Russian? So the Hungarian Jews, most of them were Hungarian Jews. They don't know. It's an entirely different Slavic language. And I said, I speak Polish, so we could communicate. So they asked me if I know where there are some magazines. Well, here it's called differently. A magazine in German means where you storage
Ammunition?
not ammunition, clothing, and how do you call this? Slipped out of my mind. Warehouse. If I know of any warehouses. So I told them, I think I have an idea. So they took me in on a truck, 2 trucks, and I took my brother with me, and I told him, I think this is one of them. But it was Hungarian or German, it makes no difference. They took out the machine gun, brrr, and the door just popped out. We came in over there, and they found textile, material, textile material. And they start loading, taking out to loot the place, everything out on the trucks. Big bundles of textile. But I remember as a kid in my town, we used to get a new suit for Passover. So my father was a rich man who used to buy English material. And these materials, I remember they used to talk, came in 3 yards. Just enough for one suit. It wasn't in bundles. So I told the Russian, listen, look, you take the big bundles. I want to take the little ones, a few. Is it okay? Yeah, you can take. So I said to myself, I picked up with my brother maybe 20 or 25 pieces. Yeah, of course, for 25 suits. Then we went to a different place, and we got underwear. Then we went to a different place. We found pocketbooks, and we kept on moving. And I took all these belongings into the ghetto, and there was a lady. It was already liberated, like I said. And I put it in over there, and I said to the lady, look, her name was Mrs. Cohn. I want to store something here. You will be well paid for that. She says, yeah, why not? And we did it. And this was like Wednesday, Thursday. We were liberated on the 18th of January. The 18th of January, yeah. The 20th of March, they occupied. The Germans occupied Budapest. But the 18th of January, we were liberated from the Russians. So hunger was going on. There was no food to eat. Yes, I wanted to mention one thing. The guy who took us out and put us into the Wallenberg house, his name was Marine, and he, of course, he didn't have a beard or so. He impersonated like a high official. And he asked me one thing. I want you to promise me one thing. I say, what? He says, I want you to remain religious. I rescued you. My life was threatened, but I want you to remain a Jew. So I told him, of course, in person. So I was very Jewish-minded. So the hunger struck Budapest. There was nothing what to eat. And we didn't know what to do. So we have decided we're going to go to a certain place that was liberated already like 3-4 months before. And we were heading towards Romania. So normally from Budapest to the Romania border should take, it's 200 kilometers, maybe less than that. It took us 4 days.
I think we'll pause here to change the tapes again.